night off during the summer? Or would you work?
Typically, you run year-round for dropout recovery programs. You don't start like like elementaries or K-3 do. You run through July, but in this situation, moving and trying to make sure that we're able to operate in that facility, we won't have any operations at this time.
Would perhaps consider security cameras? Would that satisfy the board a little? Or one or two at least?
Yes, we do have security cameras on the premise that were there from the internet cafe. And we also have a grant with the state of Ohio to have additional security cameras, so we'll place 2 on the outside.
I have a question. This is a school, so does the building department or the engineering department, will this require a school zone on Warrensville Center? It's a school, then it would be a school zone, I think, but I'm not sure.
And it's public at that.
Yeah, I honestly, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to check our code, and maybe the police department would know that. I mean, I know we've required it, with the other
Yes,
schools.
because she did say it was a high school, right? You did, so it's a public high school. Are we bringing a traffic? Is this going to be a traffic? Do you need a crosswalk for people crossing the street? Do you need a guard to cross the people? And do you need a traffic zone, a school zone?
I don't think the private entities are required.
I don't believe there's a zone required. I don't believe there's a zone required. We'd have to check the code to be sure, but there's been other schools. There was a school over on Southgate Park Boulevard that did not have a school zone set in place when the Dallas program was over there. There was no special school zone set up for that, so I don't believe that private schools need to have that school zone. But we'd have to double check that. I don't know that for sure.
I don't know, that's why I asked.
Do you guys strictly operate off grants
No, that's
in a charter school?
When you say grants, you mean like state and federal, or like written grants from other people, or all? Okay, so you're funded by the state of Ohio and the federal government at the charter school.
Correct.
So for every student you get in, you get what's called a Title I grant for students that, based on free and reduced lunch, get a certain amount of funding. So that's your Title I federal funding. You get professional development grants for staff. And then you get your state grant, and that's roughly about $5,800 per pupil, and that's just the state dollars that go for every student that's in the facility. So those are considered grants. And then if you write additional grants, like we're writing for the security grant or something, those are things the school would literally write for and then obtain additional things by those types.
As to the occupant load, the square footage, the project area is about 8,400 square feet. Is that the entire square footage of the building that we're looking at?
Building's 10.6.
Building's 10.6. Okay, so then you're in. So 10.6, about 106 occupants, 100 per square foot, the whole building. So that'll be your max.
And just let me say, the children do the 2 sessions. There's never at one time. I mean, that would be amazing if we ever saw 100 students show up for a session. Typically, these students show up in groups of 30 and 40 for a session. And then the second session, a new group shows up, so they don't stay all day. You choose between the 2 sessions. So never at one time will there be 110 people in the building.
I have one question about your bill. So from what I'm looking at in your drawing, you're going to have 40 or 50 kids and staff members there at the same time. Is one restroom enough?
It's not common, it's 3.
You say new toilet here.
We're adding.
There's 2 existing and they're adding a 3rd.
That could really take stroke buildings.
Can I ask you about the educational, the academic? Are they going to learn on computers? Because I know some of the...
Yes, I think
Carol?
1 second, I'm sorry.
Oh, they're dropping.
we have to have that. It's
That's the
scheduled.
women.
instruction. This is what's called a blended learning model. So what you do is you come to school, you do a portion of your curriculum and education online, and then you do a portion of classroom instruction. So you have a teacher there that may start out and teach a little bit about science at the beginning of a chapter. Then you go online and you complete questions. So that's the blended part of it. And also, if you earn the right to do at work at home or anywhere else where you can log in with your computer, if you earn that right through attendance, you can complete some of your coursework at home as well, or wherever you desire to do it. It's kind of like on a mirror set. You show up to school, you do what you're supposed to do. You can take your computer home and work through your coursework, and that counts as well.
What's the success rate of a program like this? Getting kids diploma?
I've been doing this for about 15 years now, and usually when you only have like maybe out of 30 to 40 students a session, you'll have 15 to 20 graduate. So maybe like half will graduate, and then they'll just keep on going through that. So every graduating session, and it depends on where they are when they come in. So you have graduation half year and graduation at the end of the year.
But about 50% of the students that enroll eventually do get a diploma?
Yes, and they come in behind, and that's why we go up to age 22, because you might have someone that comes in that has a 10th grade or 9th grade education, and they're 18, 19, so we just keep working through having them complete the courses. This school is a little unique. We have a section where we like to put the sounds theater, that we're doing some sound and some theatrical productions, some things to really get you in that. Those are the things that catch on. So a lot of, we call it a technical institute. It really is tech, really working through IT, technical type, non-traditional fields. We hope that they all go to college, but if they don't, we are hoping to have many avenues for them to do stagehand work and different union work for different sound and ASCAP, BMI, and those type of things. So it has a little bit of a different educational twist to it.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
Are you closed on the weekends?
Yes, unless I'm staff or I'm in there, or I, as executive director, will operate the premises day-to-day management of it, so I'm in there.
There's no children on the weekends?
No students.
I think this is just, but for what it's worth, I think this is just what this area needs, legitimate business. I mean, there's so many vacancies right there on Morrisville Center that this, you have that gentleman, which is right across the street, the new restaurant they're putting in, he just bought the building, invested, paid his taxes. I mean, this might attract the type of businesses that you want in that area rather than vacancies, in my opinion. And they'll be keeping an eye on it, and they're only open until 4. The likelihood of trouble with the cars, especially the leaves, is very slim. The hard bar, who knows if they're in business anymore. And what else would you want in there? I mean, I don't see it, we got I don't see it.
Do you have your own buses or it's all city buses?
It's all RTA transportation, or drop-off by parents as well. And we do provide RTA tickets for them, so that if they want those, then that's pretty much free too.
Does anybody have any input from the councilman in the area? Is that Richard's area, or is it yours?
Richard Jansen.
He was very supportive when we first talked about this. He was very supportive.
I had an opportunity to meet with him and walk him through one of the schools that I direct that is in Warrensville Heights. It's called the Green Inspiration Academy. It is a green school. It's located behind a church in Mount Zion. And he got to see how I operate personally. I don't play with kids, so I don't think you're going to have much problem. I have a good rapport with kids. The principal comes in as highly qualified as well as the staff, and we seem to have a good relationship. The school in Warrensville Heights is clean inside and out. It is an open field, as will be this environment, nothing dark about it. Plenty of computers, Google Chrome pads.
Is that the one that closed?
No.
Is that the one, did you say your school's closed? Akron closed.
The Akron closed by, voluntarily by the
Garfield one's still open.
in Warrensville.
No, Warrensville.
I am, aside from being the executive director, I am counsel to the Invictus High School on Lee Road, the formerly Life Skill Center Summit I was counsel for, and the Lake Erie Prep School, and the Towpath Trail High School in Akron. So I have done a lot of dropout recovery schools, and I will be what they expect me to see.
Do you have anything you want to share with us about the facility and what the police department feels about what's happening?
It would be much better than an internet cafe or the bar, that's for sure. Make sure you budget for maintenance on the outside of the building, though. With the bar there, that parking lot does get, pretty whacked out by the end of the weekend with bottles and stuff like that. And they have not always been the best business about cleaning up, and that could be an issue with the non-separation also. Just, making sure that the environment with needles, bottles, whatever happened to be there was cleaned up. I mean, that kind of thing. That would be, the police department obviously wouldn't object to anything like that. I mean, it'd be better, it's a good business to have in compared to many others in the area.
And again, Mr. Chairman, it should attract other businesses, not to mention boost some of the other businesses. I'm sure a lot of the parents will be dragging their kids to schools too, I would imagine. Like if they're like any other school, you'll have 90% of the people will be driven by their parents or themselves.
Especially with their 14 to 17 age.
And then, they'll visit our stores and restaurants and so forth. I don't know.
So then I would,
May I comment just briefly? My name is Gary Werner, and I'm here tonight representing the property owner, Haven Properties. I was here to offer whatever support I could. They were doing an excellent job. I just want to let the commission know before it makes its decision. The building's been vacant, I'm informed, over 3 years. We are delighted to be partnering with these folks. We think this is a positive good in any community, but certainly where they're proposing to locate, we're happy to work with them to get the job done. And I would strongly encourage the commission to support what you prefer. I agree with you. I mean, I prefer an organization like this to what goes on around it at this location. But organizations like this won't succeed if they don't get the support of the groups who prefer them. So I'm encouraging you, support what you prefer.
Thank you.
okay, then I would like to make a motion for approval of a conditional use permit to operate an educational institution in a neighborhood commercial zoning district under Chapter 1278.04I as a high school diploma education institute only, subject to the approval of the city engineer, fire department, the police department, and the building department.
On the separation of the parking lot. They said they're going to do something to separate them.
Okay.
Actually, it's a dedicated street.
Right.
For Haven,
Haven's a paper street.
Right. So I'm not sure if they can put a fence on it. It would be.
What, from the R bar to?
yeah, the street.
It's a dead street. It's technically a dead-end street.
I'll second.
Arnold?
Yes.
Deacon, yes. Ostenson?
Yes.
Chanel?
Yes.
Weber?
Yeah. Good luck, sir.
Thank you very much. We will have no problem out of our students.
Actually, I think Mr. Bickerstaff was the applicant, so I think he needs to sign.
They make you sweat.
You're getting those cameras fixed on that artwork. Well, that's
Very, very painful.
I think they're
Mr.
Thank you all. Got me sweating. I know that.
We're more fun.
If it wasn't for kids, we wouldn't get that.
No, seriously, that bar is the problem.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on it too. If it does reopen or if it is open, it's something that you definitely need to be concerned about.
That's the only thing I'm doing. They'll have another set of eyes on the place. so-
Yeah, to let us know.
Exactly, what going on?
Maybe y'all can knock it down and snow.
Accidentally. Thank you, have a good evening.
Okay, yep, so we Okay, well, we have our discussion with the police department.
Good luck. What else?
Sure.
We're not shopping across the room yet? That's John for.
Hey, John,
Yo.
can we close the meeting and then discuss this?
Oh, you mean as far as just discussing, it's part of the meeting, it's on the agenda, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The agenda, so part of the meeting.
Okay.
I have to excuse me because I'm not exactly even sure what I'm presenting. I was told to be here tonight with a representative of the police department, and I know that something was proposed as far as,
There was a letter written by,
about, I was not briefed on the letter completely though, as far as, this is only for residential, not allowing cars in the resident, I have a copy of the letter, but I'm not well versed in all the planning and zoning laws. So if you guys have any questions about exactly what Prosecutor Melling has in the letter or anything related to any of the bars in the area, I'd be more than willing to answer any of those questions. I think it's the police department's position that this is probably a voter issue, whether you dry up the city or certain areas of the city. It's not our decision to make, it's the citizens of the city's decision to make as to whether those areas get dried up. I can tell you specific problems we've had with any member of the bars, and I think there's 14 bars and taverns in the town currently in different areas. Obviously, some of the ones that have been specifically in the residential areas, latest the Dollar Bar over at Mayville and Libby, we had a lot of problems with that. That's closed now. Rockies, which had been primarily on Libby Road here, right down the street, had been a problem in the residential area. So if we're speaking of the purely residential area bars, we have always had problems with those bars. Even Rockies, which closed at 1:30, had the 1 or 1:30 had the earlier closing time. So we have problems with the bars that stay open in the commercial districts as well. But the residential bars are certainly a problem.
Is it more affecting the residents itself or the residential area itself?
It
or is
affects
just-
both because
just-
it brings in a bad crowd generally, and even if they don't want to, it ends up it brings in the drugs, it brings in loud noise, it brings in problems, and even if it's limited to 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't think if you live in the house behind the bar, for instance on Rockies, if you live on or Theodore, I don't think you want music thumping at midnight. If you have kids and you're trying to...
My question is, tonight lounge, I don't know what the occupancy permit or what it permitted here, but there's no parking anywhere around there. You must get 200 people in there tonight.
Well, yeah, they have their times and they ebb and flow with their business as far as how busy they are. Their lot is not that big. I'm not sure what kind of deals they have. I know they spill over into the law firm a lot occasionally. I know John Shea calls us all the time, and they don't park on Shea's lot.
Right.
At least not for long.
How many of those 14 bars are currently located in residential districts? Not neighborhood commercial, not commercial,
Yeah, let me look at my list real quick
but
here.
actually in the residential districts? Because that's kind of what the memo
Most are
addresses
not,
right now.
some are close.
The ones you brought up, I
You know,
think.
tonight too is across, is across the street from a residential street, although the area it's in is technically, I think, a
I think that's,
commercial.
neighborhood
area.
commercial or,
Yeah.
yeah.
None of them currently open are specifically in a residential area. The closest would be Maple Grove, right on the end of Pease and
Okay, I'm not sure what that
Down in
lot
Ranger.
is, yeah.
it's right on the end. I mean, it's right next to the industrial area.
Right.
So it's kind of on the end of the residential area. That's probably
I'm
the
not sure
closest. But
what
then
that one's-
everything else is going to be right on the fringe. It's probably zoned residential.
Maple Grove, is that a highly needed area for you guys? Do they need you a lot over there?
No, we rarely.
And
We
yet
rarely go
that
there.
might be the one that's in a residential district that would be affected by,
And we rarely
This memo.
go, we rarely go there.
Okay.
Occasionally we have problems, but it's usually an individual, maybe a drunk driving problem or something like that. We
So
don't have a lot of fights.
Let's say you're a business, you're a bar, and you were to sell your property or bar because of age, and you want it to continue to be a bar with the liquor license. Is that accepted with this, or is it automatically, if anything new comes in, it's squashed?
it's non-conforming, you can't transfer.
Okay, so no transferring of no liquor license or anything like that. So once you hold a liquor license that's already here and you obtained it, it's dead in the water.
I put you out of business, I've taken away your retirement, I put you out of
You
business.
could,
If
you
if
could
you
sell
retire,
a liquor
you have
license
like
to a commercial area,
Right, you could sell
to
it.
another address, as long as we
What
approve
about
that
the-
other
what about the
address.
building?
The building could not be used as a bar
So then
again.
I've just taken your market value, what little it might be, and eroded it to nothing.
Because you cannot combo it with a current
So I can't use
business.
it for, so then the people that are affected by that, who own the buildings, would probably feel real different.
Well, and that's why I asked how many of these, of the 14 were still in residential districts. I think it's only Maple Grove, and he's saying, possibly, and that's the one that would be most affected by a change in the zoning law to eliminate bars and taverns, and it's a bar and tavern that we don't currently have a problem with.
Not generally.
So blanketing a group, it's
And
just.
it doesn't help any of the problem bars
No,
by
not even
changing
that.
it to
Once they
residential.
do close, then you have another dead property. Properties that can be used really unless there's a lot of rehab to take out a kitchen in or not a whole full bar and everything else, coolers and everything else. I mean, that's a task. It's not something I want to say out loud, but at the end of the day, you would be affecting a lot of people that shouldn't be affected.
So somebody that had a bar and said, okay, I'll run it, I'm getting old now, I'm ready to sell
Well,
it
I
to
thi-
somebody, then they really
The
can't sell
police's
it.
concern, obviously, are the problem bars.
Of course.
Yes.
And they're not really in the residential district, although that's what the memo directed us to look at. So why don't you tell me what the police is more, it's obviously not, maybe it's, typo. What are the police's concerns with bars and taverns in general? What is the position?
Well, I mean, it was brought up earlier, the latest shooting at the R Bar. We've had a recent stabbing at Weave when it was open. We've had numerous shootings and stabbings.
So
I mean, there's not a bar, especially.
it's
up
not
in-
really the zoning district that they're in, it's certain bars and bar owners.
Yes, I mean, I can tell you, we don't get called to Dunham much. Occasionally you get a drunk patron or something, we don't get called there. We've gone through periods with Danny's on Broadway, although last few years that's not been bad. Maple Leaf is a pretty bad bar. We've had a number of shootings over there that have affected the shopping center. Wing stays quiet, at least for the last 5 years at least, it's been relatively quiet. Prior to that, we used to have a lot of problems. I mean, it just kind of, as the drug trade and criminal activity goes, where that goes, that's where the problems go, We didn't have any problems set tonight too when it was Tony's. Right. But there was only 5 people that were 70 plus,
Going
every night. I mean, but
They weren't rabble rousers anymore.
and then when that changed, it moved into something else.
So in a-
Rockies, when it was open, was a problem. The Dollar Bar and all the other names that it's been, Rap City and everything else, was constantly a problem. It's just, and obviously it's the younger crowd. The younger the group that goes there, the more problems you're going to have. Kings and Queens, I won't say is a Kings and Queens has its problems, but they've kind of upped their clientele over the years to an older crowd, so they have less problems. When they used to allow, 21-year-olds in, and they had a lot of problems. We were up there all the time.
How is this different than people hanging out at the convenience stores and things like that? Isn't that the same type of activity going on at convenience stores and carry-out places where they're selling liquor?
They're sitting there specifically to drink. Do you have occasional problems at a convenience store or a gas station kind of hang out? We have problems at Marathon, Warrensville Center, and 480, for instance. It's a problem area, but we do get a lot of people hanging out. Most of the problems we have there are from the bar crowd letting out in the Warrensville Center, Southgate area. That's where they go. There's a place to get food in there. It's open 24 hours. It's right next to the freeway. It's right next to 3 ways to get out of town. You can get up in Warrensville, you can get out of the freeway, go up to Cleveland, you can get over there to Randall. And so, it's a hub. And generally, the people that are drunk coming out of the bars, that's when we have the problems up there. We don't get called up there during the day all that often. We get called up there at night with the bar crowd. So,
Still happening at Weaves?
what happened?
Is it still happening at Weaves, the problems?
I'm going to be honest with you, the most recent stuff, Weaves is not open, but, and I don't know how much this body has an effect on what they get, or the building department has an effect on what's going on. There's been a lot of, that property has transferred a number of times over the last 5 to 7 years.
It's closed now?
I don't believe it's open. We haven't been going up there
Okay, yeah.
in either case.
I've seen a sold.
Yeah, okay.
I did vote.
Now, we did say that you guys had to license it bond a minimum of 6 security agents for them to be open at any given time.
Right.
And that if they
But someone
didn't
will
have
come in and
that,
eventually do that. As a matter of fact, I was speaking.
is that a better solution, I guess is what I'm asking, is maybe doing something where we are addressing, putting the responsibility on the owners. If you want to have that young crowd, you're going to have to do all these measures rather than a blanket, let's close down some of these bars that have had no problems.
But generally, somebody else always comes in.
It alleviates a lot of stress off the police department if you're gonna keep them open, having 6 staff members like that there. At least that takes that initial burden off. If it's just a drunk or somebody like that, please.
Now, you do run into a little bit of a problem. Now, I'll go back to Kings and Queens and not to dump on them, because we don't go up there and don't have a lot of problems with them as of late. But they had a large security staff, and we rarely got called up there unless they threw the problem out. The problem was they were handling a lot of problems on the inside that we didn't know about. So then they get a bunch of heavy-handed security people in there.
I got you.
They basically don't let us, they'll let us in when we come and want to get in, but we don't even get the calls.
I got you.
They take care of their own problems, which there's something good to be said about that. It does alleviate pressure off the police department responding, but on the other hand, there's a lot of underlying stuff going on that's still up in that area. People are leaving that bar, they're going over to, what was J. Roy's, and moving around. And some of these bars, it's very hard for us with our depleted manpower to keep track of what's going on a day-to-day or month-to-month basis with these bars. So you got a place like Bugetto's, it's not open, it is open, it's not open, for 3 weeks in a row you see nothing there, and then all of a sudden there's 100 cars in the parking lot on a Friday night. I have no idea why. I couldn't even begin to tell you, but there's still, I don't even know what they're.
And there's no
if it's a
neighbors
restaurant,
to
if it's
say.
a bar or whatever, I don't even know what it is.
They
All of a sudden, there's just people there.
Because they're having class reunions up there, so I really advertise that. So.
Seems like they do special events now, but, we don't know that. We don't have the staff and records and everything to keep track with going around to each of the places and keep, as a matter of fact, I was looking up stuff in our computer system to print out on each of the bars. Some of these have not been updated. Matter of fact, I couldn't even find our bar in the system. I had to go back to the Club Maple Tree name. That's the last time our night file and owner information was updated in our system, in the business file. Now, we have updated information, but I have to go into police reports, like from the shooting where we did talk to the owner, we went and physically found him that night, and, you know, we have all that information in a report, but we don't have the office staff to update the files.
Cross-reference
Kind of
it.
thing. I mean, we're at roughly half our manpower from when I started almost 20 years ago, and our level of crime has gone up. And it's not even that. It's only gone up by about maybe 1.5 times. It hasn't gone up as much as you think. The problem is it's gone from low-level misdemeanor crimes to, you know, in the detective bureau that I run, if it's not a shooting, a rape, or a homicide, we're pretty much not working it. So your house gets broken into, the road guys are doing a very good job, the initial responding officers at doing evidence collection, but what they're doing is what you're going to get. You're not going to get somebody from the detective bureau by and large. Occasionally we will be able to come out if there's some specific reason, or if you get guns stolen, we'll come out and take care of stuff. But we just don't have the manpower to do it, so you have to make the hard decisions. What do we do? What do we not do? So we do what we can.
In an ideal world, if it was just up to you as the police department, what would be the solution to bars and cameras? Just, I mean, I'm not saying that's what we're gonna do. I just want to know, like, this is your position. If I could have anything I wanted today,
First of all, let me say this. I am not authorized to speak on behalf of the whole police department. I am the spokesperson to answer questions. Like I said, the chief's position when I did talk to him was that it's really not our decision to make. It's our job
to make recommendations.
No, not even that. It's our job to come here and tell you the facts as we know them, what we see on the street every day. You know, you guys are the commission, you guys are the representatives of the city, the residents. You know, if it comes down to a voting thing like that, if you're going to dry up certain areas, and you know, we're just talking about bars here. I mean, at some point you could. There are certain cities that have sections that are dry. You can't even sell stuff in a convenience store. You know, that's going to be up to, you know, the commissions and everything else. Any questions you want answered, I can tell you all the problems we have. I can tell you the good things. I can tell you the bad things. I can tell you what we see and what we report, and that's what we do. And the chief, I don't think thinks it's appropriate for us to say we don't want bars or we do want bars. I can tell you unequivocally, any of these bars that are in the residential areas that we've had, we don't currently have any, but any that we have had over the course of my tenure have always been a problem, bar none.
Except for the Maple Group.
Well, maybe we'll go ahead.
And I wouldn't include that in the same category as like a Rockies. That's like right smack dab, and there's no other, you know, other than Rough and Real. I mean, there's no other commercial or retail.
It's hard to do that blanket statement.
Right.
You can always find the exception.
Exactly. But you know, the bars are a little easier to control when they're in a larger open area that's commercialized, that has better lighting, that's got better access for us to get there, that has less places for people to hide when they run if something big does go on. So from our standpoint, yeah, we would rather have, if we're going to have bars, we would rather have them in an area that's easier for us to control. And those would be commercial or retail areas.
That's me.
Any issues currently with any convenience stores, gas stations, or other places that are selling alcohol, other than a little bit of that marathon when the bars let out that you did mention? Is that an issue as well in policing, or is it not as bad because they do tend to be lit parking lots or?
No, that's a problem.
Because they're in some residential areas too. I mean, the boards comes to mind right away to me, and
The board's not a
convenient.
problem right now. There have been times over the years where your board was a problem. The two top problem gas station, convenience store areas are the Prime Station on Granger heading out of town, over on the west side there, and then the Marathon over at.
What about this one? What about this one right here?
This one's not too bad a problem. I mean, obviously we've had a clerk killed there over the years. You know, we've had 2 killed at the other one. 7-Eleven's been hit a few times. You're not going to stop that. Right. They call them stop and robs for a reason, and if they're open 24 hours, you're going to have a problem. That one on the west side of town of the Prime Station tends to be more of a problem because The west side of town is generally not as busy as the east side of town. Our depleted manpower is generally on the east side of town when problems occur, so our response time is usually a little bit longer getting over here, and that is right on the edge of town. It's, you know, anytime you get near the edges of town in any department, it's the less patrolled area. You know,
Plus you got the apartments right behind that one.
you got the apartment, yeah, and depending on what the
You got a lot
apartment
of,
is.
you got a lot of residents hanging out, just walking there, hanging out there.
Oh, yeah.
That's why a lot of that problem happens.
And it's a hard place to watch. You can't sit there with I mean, you can put a car out there and just sit there, and that's a deterrent, but as soon as the car leaves, it's gone. It's not an easy area to surveil, I can tell you from experience, because there's no place to hide. There's so many residents, there's so many lookouts. And, you know, up on Orangeville Center, like it explained earlier, that's just, it's a hub. There's so many ways in and out of there. It's very hard to,
But in general, you don't see the problems with the convenience stores, gas stations that you do with the bars so much. Yeah.
no, the problem.
They are
the
more,
problem
they're
always-
more,
the
have
problem
more to
always
do with
is-
like location at the edges
problem
of
always is
town.
enforcement.
Okay.
And just having enough people to enforce it. The less we come up to those places, the less we stop by, the more criminal activity is going to go on. The marathon at Orangeville Center, at any given time, you're going to have drug sales. At any given time, you're going to have weapons transactions. At any given time, you're going to have people selling bootleg DVDs and CDs and everything else that they made. You know, if you want something, you're going to be able to get it there. If they're going to do a drug transaction, the guys from Cleveland are going to come in, they're going to meet them in a lot, they're going to sell it and go. It's quick stuff, hand to hand, that is very hard. It just takes dedicated surveillance. We have a two-man narcotics unit that works the 7-city area of SEAL, all the southeast communities here, and with us, we have very little time to do surveillance except on specific cases, and usually those are of higher notoriety, like the R-Bar homicide or the crime station homicide, those types of things. So it's really more a manpower issue necessarily than the actual type of business. And a lot of it does come down to the business owners too. You know, we had problems on Clare Extension with the apartment buildings and stuff over there. That's probably more an owner problem, because as soon as you get a good, you know, we used to have a lot of problems at Sunny Slope. When I first started, we were at Sunny Slope all the time. Get a new owner in there, he cleans things up, he gets better tenants, he does a background check. They don't even have security over there, but he just does a good job of getting good people in there and having good management practices, and therefore we don't go to Sunny Slope anymore, except as much as we would any other street in the city. You know, whereas Clare Extension, we're over there all the time. We've got rid of one of those buildings. Hopefully, you know, 201 is being rehabbed, and the guy that bought that is actually trying to buy out the whole extension. He wants to buy the thing that we visited. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago. You know, he'd like to buy up the whole strip mall in front. He wants to buy out top his other property across the street at 20,008. And he could, he'll take over that whole thing. And he seems like a squared away guy at the moment anyway. He seems to be doing the right
The
thing,
school,
doing the right rehab.
paying off the taxes.
So, a lot of it's ownership, and that goes
I
to
agree.
businesses and the apartment complexes.
Good owners want to attract good tenants and protect their investment.
Yeah, and it'd be helpful from the police department standpoint, maybe to have a little more interaction with them. And once again, it's a little bit of a manpower issue if we had, and maybe we just need to dedicate a little more time to it. It might pay off dividends, but that would be our standpoint.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
So we don't drag on, we don't keep you forever. Sorry you had to sit through the whole meeting. So any more, just, we can have you back if we'd like to, but we'll invite you.
Absolutely. Let me know whatever you need.
Okay, then I'm going to adjourn our meeting at 8 o'clock. Thank you for coming.